Now today we're going to be talking about Haki, specifically Armament Haki, and I'm going to be looking at the rundown of each form and how they work. You can take this video as an explained video if you will, but the point of this video is to clear up misconceptions, because it seems that people still don't have a general idea on how it's divided, because people seem to classify it as just one thing, when in reality within each form there's different shades and different uses for it. Same thing with observation. An observation video might be coming out soon, because observation has different shades and it's slightly more complicated based on what was given to us in the series so far. But Armament, on the other hand, is kind of straightforward, and I think where things get kind of complicated a little bit is when we get into the Ryou and the advanced level. That confuses a lot of people. So again, I would appreciate it if you like the video and subscribe if you're new here. Now first things first, let's go through the rundown of each Haki in a general sense. And what was given to us by Ryou was that Haki is divided into two shades for the most part: observation and ornament. Conquers as well, but that only applies to specific individuals. Now ornament is a form of Haki that is based around the idea of an invisible armor around your body, and this is sort of the foundation of ornaments. This basis is what is used in order for us to know the advanced levels, or what the advanced levels are, and this will most likely apply to observation and as well as conquerors. Even though we don't know what some of the advanced Haki does for, let's say, conquerors, we know for certain that the intimidation and the present aspect of it is something that the advanced conquerors will be a derivative of. But for now, we're still in the dark for that. But going back to ornaments here. Now the first level of ornament starts off with the Logia hitters, and basically this form of ornament is the most essential form of Haki and one of the most important, because this gives you the ability to hit or affect the real bodies of Devil users, specifically Logia users who have intangibility and certain paramecias that are unable to be hurt by physical attacks. And most pirates in the New World have this ability, and it is the most basic form of ornament, and it also acts as a form of enhancement, whereas it also has the ability to make your body stronger, but to a very low degree compared to the other forms. And we know this because during Sanji's fight against Judge, it was said that Sanji used Haki to block Judge's spear, but we know it wasn't hardening, as the usual color scheme of that shade wasn't depicted. Now there's a very big misconception about Haki being a counter for Logias. Now granted, yes, it does allow one to hit the true bodies of Devil users, and it also does give some form of enhancement to the user's body, but one thing that it doesn't do is negate the ability of Devil users like Sea Stone, right? For some reason people have this notion that Haki completely gives you the advantage over Devil users. Now while you are able to hit Logias, it doesn't stop the ability of a Devil user, and this notion makes people think that Logia users aren't as powerful because Haki was now a thing ever since we got into New World, which is far from the truth. And the main basis of this is because when the Straw Hats got into the New World, we had Caribou, who was a Logia, and he got destroyed by Luffy, right? He basically became a play tool for Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji. And then we had Smoker, another Logia user, who was defeated by Law and Virgo, who were both Haki users at that point in time, Virgo more so. And then of course we had Caesar, who was defeated by Luffy when he got Sirius. And so coming off of the time skip and Haki being an official power system, then it made Logias look a lot weaker than they are, because they were seemingly invincible before the time skip. But that isn't because Logias are weak to Haki, it's just more so that these people were weaker than the individuals that they were fighting up against. And again, as I mentioned earlier, while Haki does counter the intangibility of a Logia, their abilities are still active. All Armament Haki does is counter one aspect of the several abilities Logias can dish out, and we know Logias have many abilities at their command. And I'll expand more on this in a different video as to why Logias are literally the strongest fruits in the series in a lot of ways, but that is a video for another time. Now going back to ornament here, now we move on to level 2, which is called Busoshuku, or hardening. And this version of ornament takes the enhancement of the previous form and amps it up to a new level. Basically the enhancement has a lot more concentration, to the point that it becomes extremely hard, and depending on the mastery of the user, the hardness varies from being as strong as iron to being literally unbreakable. And this form of Haki is the form that is easily recognizable because it has has a visual depiction. And usually when a character is using hardening, it has a black shaded color scheme. This form is often used for offense and as well as defense. And it's also one of the key mechanics as to why Luffy's Gear 4th is able to work. This form can also be used in conjunction with Conquerors, and this usually happens when two Conqueror Haki users clash with hardening. And I think this can also set up the idea of advanced Conqueror's Haki having the ability to boost the other forms of Haki as well. I could see that being a thing later when Conquerors gets expanded upon, possibly through Shanks. And then we move on to the more technical application of hardening. And this version is a process that surrounds the idea of flow. Flowing Haki from your body to an object. It's almost like extending Haki to something that's outside of your body, and that object becomes an extension of your body in some sense. And this is the form that Zoro specializes in because he's a swordsman, and of course a form that most swordsmen in the series specialize in, as it gives the user the ability to make flying sword attacks stronger and increases the durability of the sword, while also giving it the ability to hit Logia users with flying sword attacks. And this form can also apply to the offset created by Devil Fruits. For example, when Kid attracts metals, he's able to use hardening on the metals that he's accumulated, and it's the same with Katakuri when he uses Power Mochi, as well as Cracker with his Biscuit Soldiers, and obviously with Doflamingo and his Awakened Strings. However, for the case of Devil Fruit users, it is a bit different because they aren't physically touching their offset to put Armament Haki on it. It's the same process, but in the case of Devil Fruit users, how they get there is a bit different than swordsmen. And this is something that I'll get more into detail in a different video because there's a lot to be said here. Now, there's also an advanced application of this, or I believe there's a level that we're not aware of yet, and that is the permanent hardening on weapons. And the only people to have achieved this level of mastery are Mihawk and Ryuma. And while it does have to do a lot with Armament Haki, it also has something to do with how swordsmen handle their blades, because we have people like Roger, Whitebeard, and Rayleigh who use a sword but don't have a black blade. So there seems to be an aspect of it that isn't as straightforward as we think, and it most likely has to do with how pure swordsmen handle their blades, and it's very likely that Zoro will achieve this level later in the story. Now we then move on to level 3. Now this form is technically advanced, but not really, and the reason I say this is because a lot of characters that we know use this form of ornaments, which makes me believe that it's not advanced, but a form that requires more control and skill, so it's more technical than anything. And basically this form that I will call Emission for the time being allows the user to use Haki in a more offensive and also a defensive way. And basically Hyogoro states that rather than exerting power, one should use the unnecessary Haki around your body and make it flow into your fist, creating something that is akin to a shockwave. And not only does it increase the power of your attacks, but it also gives the user to do that without actually physically touching the enemy. And one of the things that we were always puzzled about was that how was Luffy going to defeat characters who were deadly to the touch, like Akainu's Magma Fruit and Magellan's Poison Fruit, right? And the answer is the Emission type of Haki, because this doesn't require physical contact to do damage to a Logia. And I also believe that this is what Shanks used to stop Akainu's Magma Fist during Marineford, because it seems like Akainu's attack was stopped by a wall. Again, just like the other forms, the level of the force varies depending on the user. The Admirals are able to deflect Whitebeard's Quake with Devil Fruit, and Whitebeard and Roger in their prime days have so much force that it causes shockwaves that is able to ripple through the entire island. And this form is what Luffy believes is able to hurt Kaido. So amongst all forms of ornaments, this form is the most versatile, as it can be used both defensively and also offensively, though it still falls short in terms of offense compared to the next level. Now the next level is level 4, which is currently the most advanced form of Armament Haki that we know of, and you know it's truly advanced because there's only 2 people in the series confirmed to have it, Luffy and Rayleigh. And this form is said to be above the Emission type in terms of offensive power, and this version is very similar to the Emission type, but it gives the user the ability to project Haki into things and destroy them from the inside out. And to me, this seems to be an ability that is able to bypass durability because it is hurting you from the inside. So obviously this is one of the key forms that is going to be required to beat Kaido. Now if Haki gets expanded upon, there might be be a slight variation to the armament that we're not aware of yet. Things like Diablo Jambe and Ashura might actually be variations, because these abilities are unlike anything we've seen in the entire series, and the only types that we've seen in the entire series. And going off of what has been stated about those forms, they have things to do with the spirit, and the spirit is intertwined with Haki, but we'll see what happens moving forward. So let's go over all these forms once again. Level 1 Armament Haki grants the ability to hit Logias and enhances the body of the user. Level 2 Hardening, an added concentration of enhancement and increases the power of the user's attack. Level 2 Weaponization. Now this is still level 2, but it's a different application of it, and it allows the user to imbue their Haki into weapons. Level 3 Emission. The ability to project one's Haki into a shockwave attack can be used offensively and defensively. And then we have level 4, an enhanced version of the Emission type. Grants the user the ability to emit one's Haki into something and destroy it from the inside out. But that is pretty much it for this video, guys. Comment down below what you guys think. Do you agree? Like the video if you liked it. Subscribe for more One Piece content on this channel. It is Ferro, and I will see you folks later. Peace.